Hello, hello. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to get started in about a minute. While we wait, please feel free to pop in the chat where you're joining us from. Brian and I are coming to you from San Francisco. Nice. Great. I see lots of Canadians. Haiti and I are both from Canada. Hey. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. So, hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for Grammarly's first live training series, Do More with Less with Generative AI. We are extra excited to be joined by two fantastic Grammarly ambassadors or Grambassadors who will share their generative AI tips and tricks. Before we begin, we're going to go over some quick housekeeping items. So all attendees are automatically muted. So you'll be able to hear us, but we won't be able to hear you. To enable closed captioning, click the CC button at the bottom of your webinar window. We'd also love your active participation, so please type your questions in the Q&A widget at any time. Try to post them in the Q&A widget because sometimes it'll get lost in the comment section, and we want to make sure we can answer your questions. And lastly, of course, we get this question all the time. Will we get a recording of the event? Yes. Keep an eye on your inbox. In the next few days, you'll receive a recording of the entire webinar. Okay, so let's get started. In this webinar, we're going to go over very quickly a quick overview of what generative AI is so that we're all on the same page. Then we'll go over what Grammarly's generative AI is and what it's built for, because we know there's lots of solutions out there that you can choose from now. We'll go over how to find Grammarly's generative AI and how to compose, ideate, and rewrite with it. And then what you're all super excited about is hearing from our panelists on how they use it in their everyday lives. So let's jump into some introductions. Since we are Grammarly, we're going to include our favorite punctuations in our introduction. So my name is Caroline. I'm a product marketing manager here. And my favorite punctuation is the exclamation mark, because as you can probably already tell, I always want people to know how excited I am. I'm joined by Brian. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Zhang. I'm a sales engineer here at Grammarly, and I show customers and prospective customers how teams can increase productivity with our product. So I'm excited to meet you all and demonstrate that to you today. My favorite punctuation is the semicolon, because I think, well, you kind of get two for the price of one, right? You get the colon and the comma. And I feel it doesn't get a lot of love. It doesn't get used a lot. So I'm going to give the semicolon some love.
Nice.
That's
All right,
great, Brian.
let's turn it over to Haiti. You
Hi,
want
everyone. My name is Haiti Wood, and I am a customer success manager at a company called IntraHive, also based in Canada. I have been a Grammarly user since 2016, and looking at my insights, I saw that I have over 5 million words that have been analyzed in Grammarly over the last 8 years. So I think it's pretty safe to say that it's one of my favorite tools. I use it every day and everywhere that I write, both personally and professionally. And I'm super excited to be here today. And I would say that my favorite punctuation is the asterisk, just because I think it makes everything special that it's attached to.
Nice. Thanks so much. Megan?
Awesome. My name is Megan Young. I am a learning and development manager here in Dallas, Texas at a company called OneSource Virtual. Excited to be with you all here today. I have been using Grammarly for a little over a year. We rolled it out from a business standpoint last May. So coming up on that time, I would say that my favorite punctuation sign is probably a comma. Grammarly likes to tell me that I am, love a good comma out there. So I always can learn where one needs to be placed, but there's something we use every day frequently. And I see that Oxford comma in the chats. Yes.
Yeah, that's a very controversial topic here at Grammarly. All right, well, thank you so much for those introductions. Let's jump right in. So we wanted to level set by quickly going over what Gen AI is. So when it comes to generative AI, we're talking about a set of technologies and techniques that leverage massive corpuses of data, so the whole internet, to inform large language models, or LLMs, that can generate new content from natural language prompts. For the purposes of today, we're focusing specifically on text generation, not images or multimedia. Now, what about Gen AI at Grammarly? So at Grammarly, we're focused on helping people like yourselves communicate efficiently and effectively, finding the right words and information across your workflows. Let's talk about the problem we're solving with AI. So we know that communication is complex. You spend time thinking about how you're going to communicate an idea or a plan, what context and information you need to share. Then you move into actually composing, structuring the sentence or the proposal. Then you move into revision, making sure it is as clear and compelling as it can be. And this revision piece is really where Grammarly has been for the last decade. And finally, you send it off and the person on the other end tries to comprehend what you're sharing. And this kicks off the cycle as they reply to you or give feedback on your ideas. Luckily, we at Grammarly understand this complexity and we make it easier for you to find the words you need to get your point across. So what I'm going to do now very quickly is go over a quick explanation of what Brian's going to show you later. So with Grammarly's Gen AI, you can ideate, so you can brainstorm, outline, and draft with a prompt. You can use a suggested prompt or type your own to create text. You can also respond quickly to emails with context-specific one-click prompts, which is my favorite feature. And then I think this is what Haiti and Megan will talk about, is rewrite is probably one of our most popular features. You can use a suggested rewrite or type your own to transform your text. And lastly, we've all heard about how we want to make sure that the Gen AI output actually sounds like us. So something that Grammarly does is it sets the tone and style preferences to personalize your voice so it actually sounds like you. And we do all of this where you're already working. So there's no copying or pasting involved. There's no context switching. So whether you're working in Slack or in Microsoft Word or Outlook, wherever it is, Grammarly will provide that same experience for you. Okay, so you probably want to hear about the actual product now and how that works. So let's switch it over to Brian, who will jump into his live demo.
Okay, thanks for that intro, Caro, and hello again. For today's demo, we're going to be covering this fictional company, Dream Sleep Mattress Company, and we'll see how they use generative AI to help their team. So specifically, we're going to go through use cases for their marketing, HR, and sales departments. But really, whatever role you're in, you should be able to see the benefits of using our Gen AI functionality. And that, of course, includes, as listed here, time savings and productivity and effective communications. So you'll see all of those in the examples I showed today. So let's go ahead and jump into our live demo now. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, sure. And hopefully you can see my screen at this point. It's really just a blank Word document. So not much to see right now, but the first thing that we'll do is answer the question, where is our generative AI functionality? So for that, you as Grammarly users already, you know that Grammarly will work pretty much almost everywhere you write. So whether you're in a browser here, this is a Gmail, you'll see our Grammarly icon at the bottom right-hand corner. You'll see a light bulb icon that comes up. Or if, like, again, in Microsoft Word, you can hover over our icon and see that light bulb again. So if I click on the light bulb, then you can now interact with our generative AI functionality. You'll see that there are some pre-generated prompts here that you can click on. And if I click on more, there's a lot more that you can choose from. Or you can type in a free form prompt of your choice right here. And this is, of course, provided that generative AI has been turned on for you in your account settings. So if that's turned on, then you should be able to see that light bulb icon and be able to use generative AI right away. So let's start with then a marketing use case, right? So again, we're at Dream Sleep Mattress Company. I'm a marketer and I want to create a blog post, write a blog post. But before I do so, I need some ideas. And so instead of having to do that on my own, I can ask Grammarly for help. I'm going to click on the light bulb there and prompt it to give me 10 ideas for a blog post about the benefits of side sleeping. So that's the blog post I want to create. And now a list of ideas is quickly generated. Again, this would have taken a lot longer for me to come up with than just a few clicks and a few seconds for this generation here. And I'm just going to insert it into my document here so that you can see it a little clearer. But it looks like there's quite a few benefits here, right, to side sleeping. So now I can, of course, start writing my perfect blog post there. Now, what if I've already drafted a post maybe, right? So let's go ahead into this document here. And this document is a post or an article about foam density, mattress foam density. So I know that this is pretty good, but it could probably be improved. So what I'm going to do is ask Grammarly for help. I'm going to highlight all the text here, go to Gen AI, and start typing improve. But you see here a pre-generated prompt for give me ideas for improvements. So I'm going to click on that here. And I'll get a few ideas for improvement. So here I get 3 of them, maybe to use headings or add some examples, offer recommendations. So again, using that Gen AI generated text prompt there, quickly I got these suggestions that I can now incorporate any or all into this particular text, this article, and then help me to continue to create that perfect post. How about if I want to, again, as a marketer, socialize this post on some social media platform? Rewriting content for all of my marketing channels does take a lot of time. So using Grammarly, I can change the formatting of any post or any text to suit the social media platform. So for example, again, I'm going to select this text here, go to Gen AI and say, ask Grammarly something like this. Make this a LinkedIn post with custom hashtags. And now you'll see the main points of this article here, distilled down to a format perfect for LinkedIn. We got those custom hashtags here, and I could copy this over into LinkedIn, or I can say something like, make this a tweet. And now you'll see an even shorter post, shorter format that's perfect for Twitter or X or Y or Z or whatever we're calling it these days, right? So, but in these ways, you can quickly access Grammarly's Gen AI functionality in the flow of your work, right? You didn't have to go anywhere to use this. It was right there in Grammarly, right when you're writing the document here in Word, and that will help you with your tasks there. All right, let's move on to now an HR use case. So let's say you are in HR and you need to write a job description for a salesperson at the mattress company here. So let's bring up this Word document here. You started to write this. Another thing I wanted to mention is that Dream Sleep has been getting a ton of male applicants lately. So I want to make sure that this job description is inclusive too. So what I can do is ask Grammarly, instead of having to write this all myself, I'm going to ask Grammarly to write an inclusive mattress salesperson job description with bullet points, and then mention the company's commitment to diversity and inclusion. So hit enter there. And up comes this JD here, job description. I'm going to insert that so you can see it a little better. Okay, so we have an introductory paragraph here. We have responsibilities and qualifications in bullet point fashion, just like I asked it. And then we do see a few notes here about the commitment to diversity and inclusion. Again, just like I prompted it to. So now I don't have to spend a ton of time writing this job description from scratch and figuring out, what exactly to look for in a sales rep. I have a lot to work with already here, saving me a lot of time, of course. So that's a job description, but let's say I wanted to announce a recent policy change internally. So let me go ahead and delete all of that here. And again, as an HR person, I want to announce this policy change. Again, who wants to write something like that from scratch? So let's go ahead and ask Grammarly to do that, or to help out with that. And I'm going to prompt Grammarly to give me a template to announce a policy change for the company. So I hit enter there. And up comes this template. I'll insert it here so you can see it a little better. And now I have this template where I can add in different details before I send it out. And if this, of course, has saved me from a lot of time worrying about how to exactly frame this particular update. I can, of course, always tweak this and add or subtract as needed to come up with the perfect correspondence here. Now, as a side note, after I've typed in several prompts like I have here, you can access your prompt history by, again, going to Gen AI here and clicking on this clock icon, and then you'll see your prompt history and the results that have come up in this particular document here, right? So, and then you can always go back to it by clicking on it like this. Or where's the next prompt right here, right? I can click on it, and then you could either rerun it or edit it and then run it again in the new way. Okay, now let's go to our last use case, and it's going to be a sales use case. So for that, I'm going to go into Gmail and use our browser extension here. So as a salesperson, I'm going to want to generate a cold outbound email. Sales people do that a lot, right? So I'm going to ask Grammarly to help with that because generating that email sometimes does take a bit of time. So I'm going to prompt Grammarly to write a cold outbound email to prospective customer for a new line of memory foam hybrid mattresses and include details on why it's more sanitary and eco-friendly than other competitors. So I'm going to hit enter there. In my research, I've identified that people want more sanitary and eco-friendly options, perhaps, right? Especially after COVID. So out comes an email here. I'm going to insert it into this email. And this is a great start now to this email where I can further tweak it and craft that perfect correspondence to my target there. So let's say I've sent off this email and it looks like, oh, good. Prospective customer has responded. So here's a response to an email that I sent out. And let's go ahead and hit reply here. Now, instead of having to reply from scratch, you see that this button reply quickly comes up. So let's click on that and see what that's all about. And here we see a couple different sections, right? So here's sender's intent. And under here, Grammarly summarizes the contents of the email, the previous email, and then even gives you some tone detection here, right? Where David sounds enthusiastic. So it detects that tone of the customer, and you can use that too in your reply. You can also use this bottom section here under how do you want to reply, which gives 3 different options to craft a response email so that you don't have to do it from scratch. So acknowledge, confirm, thank. Let's go ahead and acknowledge David's interest and then suggest a specific time. So let's click on that. And here's that email. I'm going to insert it and look at it right here. And again, I can edit this to my heart's content, however I want to. But again, this has given me a good start for this reply without me having to do it from scratch. And there you have it. So with Grammarly's generative AI functionality, regardless of your function, right? You could be in any function, any role. You will have fewer context switches and distractions, faster replies, and you'll be able to save time from doing lower value tasks and focus more on the higher value ones. Back over to you, Carol.
All right, thanks so much, Brian. I hope you all found lots of value. I know that some of you were very excited to see that Grammarly works across more applications, so you don't have to context switch. And like Monica just said, you'll never have to craft an original email again. Okay, so now let's switch over to our panelist discussion and have Haiti and Megan come back. All right. Well, the first question that we have is for Haiti. What motivated you or your company to adopt generative AI technology?
Yeah, great question. So when I first started working in the tech industry, I actually did not have a business background at all. I had come from a sciences degree and I was working in a clinical setting. So when I finally did enter into tech, I noticed that there was this corporate language that everyone was speaking, and sharp business acumen was really important when communicating with clients. So I started using Grammarly way back in my career to help me with this communication, to be very clear and crisp. And I've most recently started using the Gen AI tool to help me to go into my meetings with really purposeful questions. So sometimes I will ask Grammarly AI tool to help me with discovery questions. For example, what are 10 discovery questions that I could ask a marketing manager at an accounting firm to better understand what their business goals are? And from there, it might help me with those questions, and then I can ask it to be more strategic or more data related. And then I can go into that meeting with some really good questions to understand that client. And then when I'm in the meeting, I also take notes, and then I will use the generative AI tool after the meeting to help me to summarize those notes and then create actions for both myself and the client. So I found it really useful in my workday for exactly what Brian said, to be able to help me with those tasks, be more efficient with my time, and then be able to focus on the things that are more productive.
I love that, especially when you mentioned that, there was this corporate lingo that you weren't familiar with, and this really just helped you to acclimatize yourself and feel more comfortable and focus on the content rather than on like trying to figure out how to use the appropriate language.
Absolutely.
Megan, what about you?
Well, from a Grammarly business side, we, as I mentioned, we adopted this in the past year. We had, as a business, received a bit of feedback from our customers about how our quality of responses could be improved. And so that kind of sparked the conversation with our COO about Grammarly. And the cool part about our relationship at OSV is that we are a customer of Grammarly's and they're a customer of ours. So we are an HCM company out here. And, over time, I've moved this into my personal life as well. Little did you know, there's texting on the phone where you can take your texts and have them run through Grammarly as well, which also the AI feature does work there. But within my role specifically over in the world of learning and development, this has just shaved off time to do so many different things. First being, we do get quite a few surveys from our participants asking how they enjoyed a training or not. To take about, as an HR professional, of course, I do want to read every single comment out there, but to be able to say, hey, to my boss, I can take 80 comments and summarize it into an executive summary for him to provide to our CHRO, that's incredible. Another way we tend to use it is for our marketing emails, also for researching, kind of to Brian's example here of saying the top 10 tips for a blog post. We can do the same with PowerPoints to be able to come up with that type of information. So overall, it's continued to make our lives so much easier here at OSV. And I'm just thankful every day that Grammarly exists, because I was Grammarly for my team before we actually had it installed. So it's really fun to use.
I love that. I love that perspective of, Haiti using it, and then you using it in such different ways, and also as individual users versus like the business use case and how it cuts across both. All right. I think the other question that I wanted to ask was, what creative ways have you used Gen AI in or outside of your roles? Are there any fun prompts or secret prompts that you can share with us? Maybe Megan, you can go first this time.
Sure. So I think one for me, when we work in the world of PowerPoint quite a bit, it is really about bullet points. I think that's one of the missed opportunities with PowerPoint, is that people tend to not use it as their poker hand to be the subject matter expert. They actually can write a novel on their slides. So being able to say, shorten it is a big prompt that if you're not using it, I highly recommend. I was editing PowerPoint deck for my team last week and was able to use that quite a bit. For marketing emails, I tend to use Make It Persuasive. That's part of that, of pulling out the voice and being able to use that for a certain audience rather than just keep saying to our learners, hey, come join us, because we've got to find different catchy ways to market these classes to them. One last one that I will say is interesting. Whenever we create storyboards and scripts, we're able to take our context from different areas. So for instance, we had a video that was created internally. We actually asked Microsoft Teams to record a video of that video, come up with a transcription, threw that into Generative AI and said, hey, come up with a short description of how to shorten this. And it was able to take 7 minutes of content and turn it into a under 5 sentence term of just saying, here is the service and how we provide it to the customer. So again, all about just efficiency and how to make life easier and shorten things along the way.
I love that. I'll probably end up trying that. Someone will probably try that with this webinar. Katie, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Same as Megan. I love using the tool to make my life easier, to shorten things. Sometimes if things are too long, you don't actually end up getting through the entire content. So similarly with LinkedIn posts or any sort of social media post, content creation and being able to make it really short and punchy and capture an audience, I've used things such as make it more punny, make it sound more confident. You can really put a tone of voice on anything using the Grammarly tool. So I'm notoriously bad at not making LinkedIn posts. So I'm using it more and more to try and make more social media posts and be more active on social media. I actually used it to make the social media post I did for this webinar today in an effort to be better at that habit. And in my personal life, I've even started using Gen AI with anything from, you can use meal planning. I've even used it to try and create an itinerary for a trip to Portugal that I'm going to in May, to help me create an itinerary that is, 5 days, around sport, around history, and around food, and then make as little walking as possible. And the Gen AI tool will help you with all of those stops. It's really great what the tool can do once you start to play around with it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's not just for work. And I'm jealous about your trip to Portugal. Okay, I know that we had a lot of Q&A questions come in. I think for the sake of time, we're gonna just ask one last question to our panelists, and the Q&A we will try and address in the follow-up email that you all receive. My apologies for not getting to those, but I'm sure you want to hear from Heidi and Megan. So the last question I have is, do you have any encouraging words to share for those of us in the audience that may be hesitant to adopt or don't know where to start with Gen AI?
I can jump in on that. Yeah. I think the big thing about AI is there is a lot of fear and hesitancy around it, but the sky's the limit. And, one more cliche, the world's your oyster when it comes to AI. It's not just about, it's not just a give and a take of you have to have something to add in there. You can ask it questions, and the more that we throw into AI, the more it's learning and understanding everything that we throw into it. So if you're not knowing where to start, don't be afraid to keep, throwing the dart at the board here. See how you can just nail down those prompts, because that's the biggest thing that I've learned over time. Plus, use it for collaboration. That's another thing. I have a peer of mine, my counterpart at work, she and I, when we've created scripts and storyboards, we've thrown it in there and then said, even, hey, let's use this just to brainstorm. And we may not even use what's ended up coming up in AI. We might go, we still got to throw our voice into it. It's never going to remove us from the process. It's just going to continue to be a springboard for us to use to improve our writing, to make our lives a little bit easier over time.
Yeah, and off the back of that, I will echo just anywhere in your life that you are wondering where you can be more efficient or make things easier. I'd encourage everybody to speak to your friends and speak to your peer groups. You'd be surprised how many people are using Gen AI in their everyday lives. And if you're unsure, then just ask and start having open conversation about it, because I really do think that it's a tool that when adopted, and like Megan said, the more you ask, the more the AI is going to learn and the more it's going to work for you. So really start to have open conversations with peers about how they are using it within their worlds. And then this might spark some creativity in your own.
I love that. And I mean, I know that I learned so much as we were prepping for this webinar and you were all sharing your tips and tricks. So I hope all of you in the audience have also taken some of these tips and tricks, and we'd love to see how you use them in your everyday lives. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. As I mentioned, you will receive the recording. We'll try and get to the Q&A questions in the emails, but thank you all. We appreciate you so much for coming. And thank you again so much, Megan and Haiti, for joining us. This was so much fun. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty.